Hi, it's Diederik here, and with the school holidays around, we know that we're going to see an influx of lost pets, and that's what I want to talk about today. We see lost pets all the time, but we see many more of them in holiday season. So I have this lost pets action list or lost pet to-do list here that we've created at Highlands. If you'd like a copy of this yourself, please feel free to email us or ring us or whatever, and we'll send you a copy. Now, let me go through it with you and I'll expand a little bit on it. So the first thing to do, let's start before you lose your pet. And I know it's sometimes hard to think of things that may happen, but let's assume that losing your pet is always on the cards for some shape or reason. A tree falls down and breaks your fence, your pet escapes, someone leaves the door open or whatever. And believe me, those are common scenarios. So the first thing to do is be proactive. Before the issue happens, be proactive. Register your pets with companies like Lost Pet Finders, Pet Boost, etc., etc. And also register your pet with the AAR, the Australian Animal Registry. The AAR is a non-for-profit organisation, and it registers, it's an Australia and New Zealand-wide database on which you can register your pet. It's insanely cheap. It's just a few dollars and your pet is registered. Now that database, the AAR, the Animal Australia Registry, is totally different to the microchipping registry that happens on a state-by-state basis and which your pet is probably registered with. So let me explain that in a little bit more detail. If you live in Bowral or wherever you live and you've got a pet and your pet is registered, your pet will have been registered by your local Shire Council, whether that's Newcastle, Wingecarribee, Gosford, whatever it happens to be. And your pet will be registered on the New South Wales state database. The same goes for Queensland, the same goes for the Northern Territory, etc., etc. Now, those state databases do not talk to each other. So the Queensland database is not linked with the New South Wales, and the New South Wales is not linked with Western Australia. So let's imagine this scenario. You, during these school holidays, trundle off down to Victoria and you're going to go and stay in caravan parks and they're pet-friendly caravan parks, and your dog goes along. Your dog somehow gets lost. So someone finds your dog, and they'll find your dog, they'll take it to a vet or to the local council. They'll scan your dog and the 15-digit microchip will be found, and they'll go and put that number into their database and nothing will come up. Nothing will come up because your dog is registered on the New South Wales database, not the Victorian database. Your dog is registered on the New South Wales database, not the Queensland database. So if you travel, then make sure that your pet is registered with the AAR or the Australian Animal Registry. I'm going to say, even if you don't travel, have your pet registered with the Australia Animal Registry. It's so insanely cheap, and it's a belt and braces type of scenario. So you've lost your pet. What do? Well, you search inside the house. This may sound obvious, very obvious, but small animals often find their way into cupboards and then manage to somehow close the door behind them, or in other really tight, cramped spaces where you'd never think to look. So have a really, really careful and thorough look in your house. And then the next step is to search your property. All the hiding places like under the wood pile, in trees and shrubs, sheds, look behind downpipes, look in garages, in all the nooks and crannies, look inside your vehicles if windows or doors happen to be been left open, under your vehicles, look under the house, and even look between walls like a shed and a tool shed, or a fence line and a tool shed, something like that. The next thing, step 3, is to search all the surrounding areas. Stormwater drains, again, trees, shrubs, drive up and down neighbourhood streets, talk to people, ask questions, look on local roofs if you're dealing with a lost cat. Then the next thing is to start distributing lost pet flyers. Now, I would hope that you have plenty of pictures of your pet, create a very simple flyer and distribute them anywhere that you can think of. Also send these flyers electronically to pet rescue organisations, vets, councils, etc., etc. And I'd suggest, even better still, go around and drop these flyers in. A lot of emails don't get read at busy organisations or don't get read for a few days. So it's important to be proactive and do it straight away. Obviously also talk to your neighbours, give them flyers, pin up flyers in appropriate areas. You need to check with your council where you can put them up. Go to supermarket notice boards, schools, parks, clubs, local shops and cafes. Put them in plastic sleeves so they're weatherproofed, and you can also put them on power poles. Check on the legality of that. An A3 format works a lot better than an A4, so an A3 is strongly suggested. And if you put them on power posts, if it's legal, then passing cars can see them as well. I'm going to suggest that you post a reward, because that is going to make more people pay attention and look out. And if your pet happens to have a medical issue, then put that on there as well, because that will make more people look out for your pet as well. Most areas will have a local Facebook page. So for in the Southern Highlands, for example, we have the Pet Fanatics Facebook page. There is the Ask the Southern Highlands Facebook page. There is a Lost and Found Pets Facebook page. So post on all those appropriate Facebook pages. So I've got all that mentioned. Also ring all the local pet groups, pet rescue groups, again in the Southern Highlands, something like Golden Oldies. So think laterally of all those organisations where a pet may end up and contact all those organisations. If you have a local shelter, physically go down to the shelter, because the description that you may have put on your flyer, according to the people in the shelter, may not match that pet. You know, we all look at things differently. I would also, at some stage, make sure before your pet's lost that your pet's microchip implant does scan. We had a dog in the other day, and the owner said the pet was chipped, and it took us 7 or 8 minutes to find the chip. The chip should always be in the saddle area, which is here in dogs and cats. Well, this chip was here, so it had migrated from here to here, and we scanned that dog 3 or 4 times. We couldn't find it. We rang up the owner and said, definitely been microchipped, and then when eventually we found it back here. Now, if that dog ends up in a shelter with a microchip scan, with the microchip back here, they're probably not going to scan that far back. And that's not saying anything against the shelters or rescue organisations or councils or anything either. You wouldn't think to scan back there. As I said, if your pet has a medical problem, mention it on the flyer and offer a reward and make it substantial, whatever you think substantial is. That will certainly help get more word out there. Whoops, just dropped my notes. Now, I would leave food and water out, your pet's favourite food, and obviously there's no favourite water, but leave your pet's favourite food out. Most animals think with their nose and their stomach, and familiar scents will make it easier for them to find their way back home, and pets can smell things for miles and miles. So put their favourite food and water out. And it's also, if there's food and water out and you're not home, it'll tend to keep them at home rather than wandering away again. Alert the local vets. I sort of said that a little minute ago, but post a lost pet alert to the local vets, or go in and hand it over the counter, which I think is very, very much better. Obviously, you need all your contact details on there as well. Now, ring every single local vet, not just the one you go to, not just the one in your suburb, because a good Samaritan person who picks your pet up may take your pet to his or her vet, which may be on the other side of town. So your pet may not go that far, voluntarily as it were, but a good Samaritan may inadvertently take your pet further away from home. And report your lost pet to council, regardless of whether your pet is registered with council or not. See if they'll accept a lost pet report and then report it. Start visiting the pounds, the shelters, the rescue organisations in person. I said this already. No one knows your pet better than you do. No one can identify your pet better than you do. Do not just rely on phone calls and pictures and verbal descriptions. Look at all the impounded pets in person, including the ones that are up for rescue, up for adoption. And I said this earlier and I'll say it again, make sure your microchip is up to date. Flag your pet's microchip as missing by contacting the council registry, and if you are on AAR, then flag it on there as well. And also please, we get so many lost pets in, and we'll scan them, the address, the number will come up, and the pet's name and the date of birth and its colour and everything else, and then we'll ring the person up, and the phone might actually work. A lot of them, people have changed their phone numbers, and so the phone number rings out, but we ring the people up and we say, are you still at 61 Highlands Drive, Morisset? And they'll say, no, I left there 5 years ago, I'm now at whatever. But they've never changed their details on the database, so it's almost impossible to track them again. So anyway, I hope that's been of use to you and for you. If you find any lost pets, please take the other side of the coin of what we've just been through, and take similar action so that the pet that you find can be rehomed as soon as possible. See you in the next video.